Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on here and share our story, which is by no means finished, but I'm hoping will help some people that might be catching the diagnosis early because of the cat food awareness now and the recalls, all the news and stuff that's going on. Hopefully this story might provide a bit of hope and maybe a bit of information and direction that might be useful for you. Just a bit about our story. As it stands, we have lost one of our cats to feline Pancytopenia, and his sister is still really poorly. I just want to say that this isn't like a horror story. There is a bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but like I said before, this is a story for us that hasn't finished. For anyone out here that's lost cats to this condition or have cats fighting, my heart breaks for you, and I feel your pain. Our cats for us were our family, and so this is a tragedy that I'm not sure that we'll ever really come to terms with. What happened with us is on Sunday our boy Eddie was just really lethargic. He was off his food, totally out of character for him. He was also really distant with us, and I don't know whether that's an official symptom, but I noticed a few people have mentioned it on the Facebook community group, so it might just be something to look out for. We kind of left him to do his thing, thinking it might have just been a standard illness, and by Sunday evening he just let out this awful cry and he collapsed. So we rushed him to the vets, who had a check on him. They reasonably concluded that he might have heat stroke. He showed a lot of the signs for heat stroke, and it had been super hot here in the UK on Sunday, and he was a super fluffy cat, so it was plausible. We took him home, followed their advice for heat stroke, and he declined really rapidly. I'll also just mention that actually when we took him in that first time, they did take his temperature and he did have a temperature, but they didn't do any bloods. So yeah, we took him home, we treated him per advice for heat stroke, and he continued to decline. We ended up rushing in to the vets at 4 a.m. And they ran tests and found he was severely anemic. And a couple of hours later, he passed away. Hopefully not in pain is all I can hope. At that point, we thought that the diagnosis was rat poisoning. It's kind of the one that the vet had concluded. Because he's got a sister, a precautionary measure was to have her tested for rat poisoning. Apparently it's quite treatable if you catch it, so we took off her bloods thinking it would be really straightforward. Obviously grief-stricken, but not expecting anything worse to happen. She in herself was totally normal. She had no symptoms. The only one thing that I'll mention is that she did have bruising. I can only describe it as bruising. She had these sort of red spots in her blood spots in her ear, so kind of like bruising, and I only really noticed it because she was ginger, and when she was sitting against the sun, like I just noticed that the back of her ear looked a bit pink, so when I looked inside it was red. And at the time I honestly thought nothing of it. I thought she's been messing around and caught it, and just as cats do. Now I feel like that might have been an early warning sign that she maybe wasn't clotting. But anyway, they ran bloods and they found that she was cytopenic. She had really low white cells, and your white cells are the ones that help you fight infection, just for anyone that's not really sure, and low platelets, which are the things that encourage the blood to clot. At this point, her red blood cells were okay, and they, as a precautionary measure, more than anything for monitoring, decided to admit her to the hospital straight away. which, you know, I'm grateful for now that they took it super serious. I would just like to say, so at the time when this was all happening, Pancytopenia, like the word, the diagnosis, I'm not really sure it was well known or well heard of, or well recognised. And every day this week we have learned something new about this diagnosis. And a lot of it, to be honest, has been down to the incredible community on Facebook. Please check it out if you haven't. It's called Feline Pancytopenia Awareness in the UK. I don't think I've got that right. If you search Pancytopenia in Cats Awareness UK, something like that, I'm sure you'll find it. It's a huge group now, with a huge community, and it is shocking. There are hundreds and hundreds of stories on there of people that have lost their cats or are fighting with their cats because of this. So just for anyone that's listening to this ramble and thinking, where am I going with it? I promise I am going somewhere. I'm going to list at the end of this video just some things that will be helpful for people to know, to let their vets know. And I will say, like, it's probably particularly useful if you're having your vet treated at a smaller primary care hospital, which is what we are having our cat treated at the moment. They aren't specialists. They're brilliant, don't get me wrong, but their knowledge is not amazing around this condition, which is, you know, what would it be? It's incredibly rare up until this point. They have been so open to learning from us, so yeah, we've kind of all been learning together, which has been an experience. But yeah, so on Monday evening, not knowing anything about this condition, we were faced with one of our first dilemmas, which was, do we treat this condition with steroids or do we watch and wait? The dilemma being that if this was a condition that was caused by an infection, steroids would make that worse. If it was a toxin that was causing it, that would potentially help. And in hindsight, I can say, thank God we just went for the steroids. They also started an antibiotic on Monday night. We were offered to go to a referral centre, but we just aren't near any. We're in the middle of nowhere, and we were expecting her to decline as rapidly as Eddie had, so we just wanted her near. We didn't want her sent away. We weren't sure if she would make that journey. But yeah, thankfully our team at the vets have been fantastic, all of them. It's been a bit of a learning curve, like I said, for all of us. So over this week, Cassie has been pretty stable until yesterday, which was Thursday the 17th, for anyone that might be watching this in the future. She was a bit quieter, a bit more lethargic, and she appeared to be off her food a little bit. So they thought they would retest her blood, which they hadn't done since the Monday, and it turned out she was a bit more anemic, slightly worse white cells, slightly worse platelets. I'm just going to mention about the food here, but while I think about it, our cats were and have been always on Applause kitten chicken food, biscuits, the kibbles. They liked it. They were 2 on Tuesday. Eddie would have been 2 had he made it to Tuesday. So we just kept the same. I'd done my homework. It was one of the, you know, the brands that I thought would be best for them, provide the best quality food. Yeah, and just can't quite believe that there's this potential link. Obviously, nothing's been proven, but it's becoming more and more coincidental that a lot of these cases seem to be on the same foods. So yeah, anyway, going back to yesterday, things were a bit touch and go, to be honest. Last night was really tough. not really knowing if she was going to make it through. Her red cells had dropped quite a lot, not super a lot, but significant enough for them to want to do a transfusion today, providing, I guess, that she made it through the night, and thankfully she did, amazingly, and I'm still in total disbelief myself. She has had her blood retested. This is prior to the transfusion, and her red cell count has actually increased. Just for a bit of context, the normal cell count in cats is around 32, and her count on Monday was 26. Yesterday was 16, so that was the kind of significant drop that I was talking about. Today it was 22, so it had gone up. We also had a formal set of bloods done, and that revealed that there was a small but right way improvement in her white cells, her neutrophils and platelets. So they seemed to be going in the right direction. And this was all prior to the transfusion, so they didn't actually end up transfusing her today. It's of course early days, but it's the best news that we could have hoped for at this point. And we are just continuing to hope and pray every day that she continues to make a recovery. For anyone looking for hope from this video, I hope that provides you with some. I'm just going to end this video off by listing off a couple of things that might be helpful or useful to know. I should probably say as a disclaimer, I'm not a vet. Every cat is different. Please seek advice from your veterinary team or local vets if you are worried about your cat, or your cat is displaying any of the common symptoms that are associated with Pancytopenia. They appear to be the main ones: lethargy, poor or no appetite, and latterly blood in the stools or urine. Just really be really vigilant, and you need to get a blood test if you feel that you're seeing those symptoms. So top tips really are, or things to know rather than top tips. One, ask your vet to start antibiotics and steroids as soon as possible if they have low counts on their bloods. This isn't a proven treatment, but they certainly seem to be working in Cassie, and I've seen other cats that have reportedly improved, also treated with steroids and antibiotics. The one thing that I thought was really interesting, which I didn't know before, is that steroids in cats will take around 4 to 5 days, maybe up to 7, to see an improvement, which probably explains why her counts look like they were dropping on Thursday. Today being Friday is day 4, so they seem to be starting to do something. Fingers crossed. Like I said, it's still early days. If you think you're going to need blood because your cats are becoming more anemic, cat blood's really hard to get in the UK, but the vets can order it. We got ours from a blood bank in Portugal. Just to be upfront about costs, it's about £900 per unit. That's for 300 mils. We have 4 units, and I've heard some cats will need up to 4 blood transfusions of these 30 mils or these 4 units. I know everyone's got different insurance or no insurance situations, so it's just a cost to bear in mind. It might be, you know, Cassie doesn't need a blood transfusion because she was caught so early because of her brother, but there's a little bit of a reassurance there that it does last for 10 days. So if she takes a turn or something happens, we have it there and ready to go. Most importantly, before you order that blood, please make sure that the vets do a cross match on your cat's blood to see what type they are. Most cats are apparently type A, around 90%, but it's really important to check. Also, any donor blood needs to be cross-matched with your cat's blood prior to the transfusion, providing it's not given in an emergency scenario, just to make sure that it's compatible. The other drugs that Cassie is now on, I think this is since yesterday, includes tranexamic acid. Sorry, I'm going to absolutely murder these names. I will put them in the comments. Basically, it increases the blood's ability to clot. Cyclosporin, which is a powerful immune suppressant. And also they added a second antibiotic called marbofloxacin. I will put them in the comments, I swear. Yeah, so we will provide updates on how she's doing. We have obviously been, I can't even say lucky, she was caught incredibly early because her brother got unwell. I will just say that the reason why we think Eddie deteriorated really quickly on reflection is because he had such low white cells and platelets. He basically didn't have an immune system, and we think he caught an infection, which would explain the temperature and his very, very rapid decline, because Cassie has been kept in the hospital in isolation and also minimally handled. Very important too, if they've got low platelets. She, thankfully, it seems to be infection free and hasn't had a problem with her temperature. Her respiratory rate and her heart rate have been up a little bit, but seem to be improving along with her bloods. So yeah, that's kind of all for now. I hope something helps in that and you can take something from it, and yeah, provide an update when we can, but still fingers crossed, and just thinking of everybody out there that's still fighting and grieving.